What's good, y'all? So True Game Data just dropped the season 5 meta for the reloaded update, and that's what we're gonna check it out. So man, I was gonna do it myself, but he did the video, so might as well watch the video, and then if you want to see me do mine, then we'll go ahead and do it. But without further ado, it's your boy, the myth, the legend, the man with 3,000 hands. Let's not waste no more time and get straight to the video.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over the Season 5 Reloaded Close Range meta.
Alright, let's go. You heard what he said. We got the Season 5 Close Range meta, and by the looks of it, what he has up here, we got the static HV as usual. We got that WSP9. We got the Superior 46. We got the FJX Hours. We got the WSP Swarm. We got the Lockman Shroud from Modern Warfare 2. That's the burst one, but you had to do some challenges to unlock it. But we your boy got it unlocked. We got everything unlocked. We got the MCW and we got the BP50 AR in close range meta. So that's sick. And without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it, because y'all ain't here to hear me talk about this. Y'all here to hear your boy talk about this. Your boy right there.
We'll be talking about all these contenders that are on this TTK chart right here, trying to help you guys pick.
Yep. And it looks like the quickest close range is the MCW. That's crazy. And the BP50 is down there too. What is the WSP Swarm? And all right, yeah. That's what it looks like. The very close, because it's the bottom. That's the fastest.
So as always, if you appreciate the content, all the work that goes into keeping all the data up to date on the website, don't forget to grab a subscription to the channel. A like
don't
on the video,
forget
and a comment
to sub to this channel also.
We'll talk about the close range meta.
Exactly what he said.
Before I get in,
we interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
We interrupt this program for an important news announcement.
into the actual TTK charts, I want to talk about what changed in this patch. In the previous patch,
Let's
the
hear
static HV and the Superior were pretty much the top two SMGs that everyone was using. Most people were using the static. So what actually changed in this patch? So the Rival 9, the max damage range was increased to 15.2 meters up from 12.7, so like a 3 meter, 2.5 meter increase in damage range for the first damage drop off. Not really super significant, because as I've said for years in my close range meta videos, it seems like TTK kind of ends up being king for close range, as long as the other stats aren't too bad, and the Rival 9's TTK just doesn't compete with a lot of these options.
And it's slow. The mobility on the Rival 9, you're not running too crazy.
Static HV got a pretty big group of changes here. So the mid damage was decreased, the max damage range, so the first damage drop off was
the static HV still going to be good though.
14 meters from 16, so a 2 meter reduction in damage range for that first most important damage range. The near mid damage range was decreased to 25.4 from 30, so it lost about 4.5 meters for its next drop off. And then the drop off after that got also a 4.5 meter reduction from 40 down to 35. Headshot multiplier was decreased to 1.2x down from 1.4x. And then the leg and foot modifiers were decreased to 0.95x. So what do all those changes to the static actually do for the actual damage value? So in the first range, we've got the shots to kill tool up here on TGD. It used to do 42 to the head in the first range. Now it does 36, so a 6 damage reduction. It is still just one headshot off of neck, chest, stomach,
damn, 42 to the head is crazy.
Reduce that TTK down to 584 milliseconds. We also got that reduction in leg damage. So upper leg, lower leg used to do 30. Now they do 28. And what that does is gives you the potential for 730 millisecond TTK if you hit those legs. And then if you get any leg shots at all. So you notice this one headshot to reduce the TTK.
9 shots to kill.
Be true if you get all of the other hitbox. So the neck, chest, stomach, upper arm, lower arm. So if you hit no leg and one headshot, your TTK will be reduced. But if you hit even one shot on the leg, that means that you're no longer going to be able to get this one headshot TTK reduction, because one headshot and 8 of those neck, chest, stomach, arm hitbox does exactly 300 damage. So that's 9 shots total, 300 damage on the dot. Whereas before, there was some leeway there where you could never actually even get 730 milliseconds, because the upper leg, lower leg did exactly 30, which 30 damage does the exact same shots to kill as 33 damage. So it was always 10 shots to kill, 657 milliseconds, and then one headshot would reduce that. Now it is different, where the upper leg, lower leg have lower damage, and the headshot has lower damage. So you're still going to be able to do this occasionally, where you get this 584 milliseconds, but it's going to be much less likely.
Yeah, let me move my camera so y'all can kind of see what he's talking about.
TTK on paper doesn't look a whole lot different. It does show up in the combination TTK chart, whereas before on combination you'd get that potentially 584 or 657. Now it's only going to show 657 because of this leg damage. So it's just an interesting nerf. It basically makes it less likely to get the good numbers, but all the numbers are pretty much the same except for this leg, where you do have a rare potential for 730 milliseconds now. Next up, the Striker. The Striker's kind of been a low recoil, pretty easy to use gun for a while, but it just doesn't have super competitive time to kill. The max damage range was increased to 14.5 meters, up from 12.7, so almost 2 meters of increased range for that first damage drop-off. Then the next drop-off was increased by 2.5 meters as well, from 24 up to 26.6, so a little damage range buff there for the striker. Then next up, the Lockman Shroud with the Jack Decimator conversion kit. The max damage range was increased by 1 meter, so it used to be 12.4, now it is up to 13.4, 1 meter increase for the full auto Lockman Shroud. All right, I'm just going to go through the TTK chart one at a time here with these weapons, and then if there's something notable, we'll go up and talk about the shots to kill tool during that. But we're going to start with 300 health.
All right, that's better. That's better. That's better. I'm gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna leave it like this.
Is the red line here. You can see that it has one of the worst TTKs now in the first range. That's because on combination, it no longer will show that 584. It's going to show the
damn. That's crazy, bro.
657 that first range. Yeah, 657, which is actually the slowest of all of these in the first range. Like I said when I was talking about it, it is still possible to get 584, and it's still reasonably common. But if you hit a single leg shot, it's just not going to happen anymore. So it's just something to keep in mind. It is harder to use, and it has a little.
But who's shooting legs, bro? We ain't shooting legs around here.
Very good option. It has great movement.
We not shooting legs around here. Why is he
using it in tack stance?
I know he's talking a cold piece on that one.
S tier option, just going to be much more often that you get that 657 TTK instead of the 584. Next up, WSP9. This one's interesting. I talk about this every patch.
Okay.
I think if it had a fast fire rate, it would probably be the meta, but it has that slow fire rate, which makes it kind of hard to use. So
but I'm smacking fools with it.
It is at 654, but if you
turn no matter what
bolt delay, if I turn that off, you're going to see that it jumps down to being tied with the fastest at 600 milliseconds.
Yeah, you guys got to open bolt delay. You just got to shoot. It
doesn't matter, but a lot of the time in close range engagements, open bolt delay will matter. So it's one of those guns that's just interesting. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around the scenarios where certain things might matter, other times they won't. So we're going to turn that back on because I think in a lot of close range engagements, we do want to include open bolt delay.
Just make sure you pre-fire.
But I think it's an excellent gun. It hits hard, and I love using it on controller. It's still one of my absolute favorite guns on controller. Then
on controller,
in blue.
Make sure you pre-fire.
And I think it's sneaking back into the meta again here. The
Superior, you be running hella fast with it.
I think that the close range meta is really well balanced right now. I think it is pretty much a toss-up between a lot of the weapons that are in this comparison. So it's going to be hard for me to pick one and say, hey, this one's the absolute best. You guys should use this. I think they're all competitive in their own ways. Fury is one of those. It has great movement. It has one of those middle TTKs at 630 for the first range. It has a little bit longer damage range than some of the other options as well. And it's just a really easy gun to use with good mobility and good like SMG stats. So I do think it's very, very good. One of the top contenders for sure. Next up, FJX Horus in green. This is a very close range option. You're pushing people and you're getting really close to people frequently, then the FJX Horus is probably one of the best choices. It has really fast
and the conversion kit has no recoil, bro.
So in the first damage range here, it's at 610 milliseconds, which is very fast. But with the build that is in this comparison, which is actually including the barrel that increases the damage range by some, it is only 9.9 meters of damage range for the Horus. So after that first drop off, you can see this green line as I toggle it is much, much slower than say like the MCW or the Lockman Shroud with the conversion kit, or even the Superi goes out a little bit further. So it's a tough sell. The recoil is hard too. So if the recoil was really beamy, then it might be okay. But I think that it's still the short damage range and the fact that there's a lot of other guns that have quite a bit better TTK for at least a few more meters, going to make it a hard sell for people, especially since the recoil is pretty tough to control. So it's an interesting gun. It's a good gun, but only if you're really pushing people. You're inside 10 meters pretty much all your fights, and you don't have your SMG out for those.
All right, good to know. Fights. Good to know.
Next up, WSP Swarm. This was the meta for a long time. This is very similar to the Horus. It has a little bit shorter damage range than the FJX Horus, and the drop off is even more severe than the FJX Horus. But the TTK in the first range is a little bit better, and it has good SMG mobility stats, things like that. I don't think
WSP
this is
Swarm
the meta either, and it's mostly just because of how aggressive that damage drop off is, and
the Kimbo's
only goes
crazy.
out to 8.7 meters with the build that's in this comparison. So it's tough to make that competitive when the second damage range has much worse TTK than the first. Next up, Lockman Shroud with the Jack Decimator. So on paper, this one looks amazing. This is one that we need to go look at the STK tool for in a second here.
I was gonna say I want to give it a try, but he's saying it's not amazing.
Of 13.5 meters, so that's one of the longer damage ranges we've seen, and it has the fastest TTK in the first range for the chest TTK in these combination shot location percentages. And then it also has good drop-offs. So like even after that first 13.5 drop-off, it has really good TTK. It's this white line out here. So it looks like it's really good, but it's really hard to build this with good ADS, good sprint to fire, and good movement, and good reload time. It's just like, it's interesting because it has great TTK, but it's also inconsistent on the STK tool, and it has bad SMG stats. So it's just kind of tough to build that one to be competitive. Last up, we have two ARs. We have the MCW and the BP50, both with their conversion kits.
So you just got to have a quick AR.
If I toggle this one here, you can see the MCW has the fastest TTK and the most range on those chest shots.
MCW Lockman Shroud class.
It's a little heavier.
In buildings, just use a Lockman Shroud.
Is with iron sights. So for me on mouse and key, I have a really hard time using iron sights, and the recoil is not great. So even though it has really good TTK, really long damage range, it's just not super competitive. Like it's a good choice. It's an awesome choice for like a sniper support or an aggressive sniper support. But it's just kind of hard to use as your SMG. As much as it looks like on paper it would be competitive, it just seems like it doesn't work out very well. I try to use it all the time, and it just doesn't seem like it well. Next up, BP50. This one is
BP50 goes crazy.
Great ADS time when you build it out, like 160 milliseconds.
BP50 goes crazy.
Crazy. Pretty good sprint to fire once you've built
it out. And if you haven't seen my clip with the BP50 and the Morse, go check it out, dog.
It's really shaky.
Check it out.
Good TTK as well. It's 609 in the first range out to 12.2 meters. One of the things that holds back the MCW and the BP50, I just tweeted about this a few minutes ago, but they both have AR zoom. So if you didn't know this, SMGs have like, I call it on TG like a zoom multiplier. They have a zoom multiplier of like 0.9, 0.91, and then ARs have 1.0. So that's like when you use one of these guns, the MCW or the BP50, the conversion kits don't change that. So it's like playing on 110 FOV instead of 120 FOV, which in close range fights can be really weird and kind of disorienting when you're expecting 120 and then you ADS and it's not a normal SMG. It has 110 FOV instead of 120 FOV. So that's another thing that holds back both the BP50 and the MCW. I do think the BP50 is pretty competitive though.
Make it better.
60 round mag. It's got good damage range, good TTK.
Yeah, I mean, get that extra zoom in. You got to think about that. You got to think about that.
Your choice as well. All right, so I said we needed to look at the STK tool for the Lockman Shroud with the conversion kit.
Oh, we're looking.
And this is what I have.
We're here. We're listening, dog.
You can see that it takes 7 headshots to reduce the TTK from 600 down to 525, which is obviously never going to happen. I mean, that's pretty much never going to happen. And then
unless you got
3
them
shots on the stomach,
hacks
off the
on,
chest,
unless you download that software, dog, and put it in the Coronas.
It's just kind of going to get these TTKs a lot, the 675s. Then the 600, it'll get those really frequently, and it's never going to go below 600. So kind of a hard sell, especially since it has slower movement and ADS and sprint to fire compared to some of the other options. So it's hard for me to, even though it has that 600 millisecond chest TTK and looks like it's better than a lot of the other options, it's going to get this 675 a lot. So it's hard to recommend over some of the other choices. But like I said, I think the meta is decently balanced right now.
Let's go.
Multiple things that we can use.
Let's get to the meta. Let's hear what the meta is.
So what I would pick as the best here, I'm not going to give you like
I'm here to
best.
know
I'm
it.
just gonna give you like
we're here to get the meta, dog.
I think the BP50.
I knew it.
The Superi are
I
probably
knew
the top 2, followed extremely closely by the WSP9.
I knew it.
And then extremely closely again by the Static HV and the FJX Horus.
Hey, if you ain't seen any of my videos, make sure you go check them out because they're all on my channel. All those weapons.
The BP50 are
all those weapons.
2, followed by the WSP, followed by the Horus, followed by the Static HV. I think Static HV and Horus are about tied. They're just completely different kinds of weapons. Like the Horus has that short damage range, fast time to kill. Static HV has the potential to be a fast time to kill with 1 headshot. But now that they've made these changes, it's going to be much more likely that you're not going to get that. So I just think that it's kind of been knocked back a little bit. And I think that the WSP has been great forever. The Superi has been great since it came out. And BP50 has been kind of a sleeper for a long time as well. All right, let's do some recommended builds here. So we're going to start with the BP50.
Your boy hit the crazy clip with the BP50.
Like I said. For muzzle, I think that there's a few good options. You can pick the sonic suppressor if you want extra range and bullet velocity. It's going to hurt your sprint to fire a little bit. Which is
all right, let me pause it right here. I was going to say, if you want me to do my own class setups, I could do a class setup video, but he's going to give you class setups right here. So let's go. Let's get these class setups, y'all.
We are already struggling to get down with this this weapon / conversion kit. Recoil is also not amazing, so that one's kind of tough. I do think the Quartermaster suppressor is very, very good for this. It, again, hurts your ADS and sprint to fire, but if you want to make this thing like a laser, then that is a great choice as well. And then the Scratch 20L or whatever it's called, the one that helps your firing aim stability that they added recently to the game. That's a good choice as well. Hurts your ADS time a tiny bit, but helps with a little bit of the
you got to
visual
do the
recoil.
daily challenge.
And then just the Shadow Strike suppressor is always really good. It's got that, suppression with no penalties, so it's always a great choice there. So I'm gonna pick the Shadow Strike for this build here. For laser, the Pro Sapphire cylindrical laser is the one I would recommend because it's only visible at your hip, and we're really trying to get the sprint to fire time down. That's one of the things this gun struggles with a lot, is sprint to fire. So we're gonna put that on there, and then you can ADS walk around with this thing, and your laser will not be visible. So that is. That's why I picked that one over.
Okay, good to know. We can ADS and walk around with it. Laser not visible.
Again, sprint to fire is a big problem with this, so we're gonna put the TCG tack tape rear grip on there. This helps 10% sprint to fire, brings that down a little bit more, makes it a little bit more viable.
Hey, this website's crazy. Shout out to this.
You need to put ammunition.
Shout out to TCG, bro.
I pretty much always go for optic, so I would just recommend using
true game data, bro.
Jack classless optic as usual. Add that on there, and this would be pretty good. So. It's a great gun. It's got that weird AR zoom that I don't like, but
hey, bro,
it does have
I'll go crazy with it.
Good mobility, and a pretty good damage profile across the board. All right, taking that build into the firing range, you can see the laser disappears when I ADS.
All right, I'm gonna end it right there. If y'all want to see the rest of his builds, you can go ahead and check it out. But that's the end right here. We already got the meta. That's what we came to see, bro. It's your boy, the myth, the legend, the man with 3,000 hands, and we out of here.
Yo, Crino, this one,